At 32, General Guthrum Hartmann was the youngest commanding officer of the Aconites since it was established in the 1930s. And he was the commander of an elite 12-person unit of carefully selected and trained paladins from all over the world. Together, they were second tier to the Twin Warriors. From the moment the paladin warriors of the Nephilim Order rescued him off the streets at 8 years old, he knew he'd find his purpose in life within their cause. And he'd trained until his knuckles bled and his knees shook and his whole body yearned for rest. But he'd pushed it well beyond the brink of exhaustion, even through stinging tears of pain. A solicitous, lion-hearted mercenary with unparalleled decisiveness, courage, and enthusiasm. Humbling praise Guthrum's master had offered the day he was granted the title Wallenkrieger at the Klinge of Nephilim. That day, some 14 years ago, was the most euphoric day of his young life. And here he stood just outside the walls of the legendary Order of Abel, New Mexico chapter. He checked the watch face hanging from a gold chain around his neck. Note the time, 8:30 a.m. He burst into a blazing run. Prefect Kaldrick had boasted that the wall surrounding the Order of Abel compound had an approximate 10-mile circumference. The Aconites, his Aconites, had been placed on active response. And this time it wasn't for some third world conflict or to investigate strange marine phenomena in the Efura Sea. This was him and his team on a death squad mission against the most deadly beast known from the ancient world. Entire kingdoms had fallen into rubble under the merciless black wings of a Geminus. The dry air swelled around Guthrum as he broke around the next corner. Uncertainty clearly masked the upcoming mission that his team was being called forth to accept. The burden of 12 lives rested upon his leadership. From an orphan to the general of the world's most elite and advanced task forces, and without even a trace of paladin lineage in his blood. Klinge of Nephilim, or Blades of the Children of God, were notorious for adopting non-bloodlined outsiders into their ranks, especially those who came from tragic origins. Hardship was the blood of strength in the veins of those who are blessed with ambition. All his hard work and obsessions had gotten him to the top, but he still refused to slow down. So he kept running, jumping, swimming, fighting, and improving all his martial skills. Because as an Aconite, there was never a lack of mountains that could be climbed and reigned over. Note the time, 9:35 a.m. Amy's head reeled. It felt like she was waking up in a foreign bedroom, but she couldn't recall falling asleep. A blink of her eyes and she realized she wasn't in a bedroom at all. She wasn't even indoors. And she was soaked with blood. No longer was she surrounded by white nothingness. No longer was she in the hospital or sitting in the cab with the jalopy. She was sitting in the middle of the woods, Sacred Oaks if she were to guess. Where was Shane? Where was Tobias? She didn't give a crap. so sick of Tobias's cryptic bullcrap, telling her he was here to help, then doing nothing when she needed him most. Maddening. At least she wasn't in that white prison anymore, which was almost as debilitating and annoying as the arrogant, evil expression on Tobias's face. Now what? Shane. She had to find him, explain everything. If he loved her, really loved her, then he'd believe her. Exactly what was it she was going to explain? Her eerie nightmare of the white room? A sensible reason for being in the middle of the woods. And how, in pray tell, she got there? And covered in blood, no less. Amy climbed to her feet. A severed furry leg fell from her lap. Butchered remains of a small deer were scattered around her. The rib cage had been gutted. The flesh and muscle had been chewed from the bloody bones. A few feet away was the deer's head, its neck chewed completely through. Oily black eyes peered toward the trees. She'd run home, take a long shower, and maybe make macaroni and cheese. Do normal things that normal people do, because she wasn't crazy. She ran. Toward home. Toward Shane. Guntram stood in the quarters of the lost twin. Rumors spread of a suicide. Others claimed the warrior twin Rorn was murdered by spies. The truth of it lay with his corpse some 50 feet beneath the topsoil in the catacombs. Guntram checked the watch face. Note the time. 10:35 a.m. He pulled a crimson ottoman from the wall. His tight black leather pants squeaked as he sat. He slid his pistol from the holster strapped to his waist. From a duffel bag by his booted feet, he grabbed a cloth, pre-treated with gun oil, and began cleaning his weapon. Wearing the same battle dress as General Guntram, Lieutenant General Felix Hamilton, Ham, had stood by the window for the better part of the last hour. He'd been staring at the courtyard outside their quarters, possibly meditating. Lieutenant General Felix came from a small mountainous town in Spain. He was a member of the Temple de Ilisco, Temple of Elisha, renowned for their healers and clairvoyance. Felix was uniquely gifted. The depth and frequency of his visions were so intense, Felix rarely spoke in a casual conversational manner. He wasted no words. Every utterance had the strong potential for great importance. Felix was Guntram's close friend and second in command of the Aconites. Guntram tossed the rag aside. He stood and placed the pistol on a mahogany desk beside 3 other guns. Guntram dropped to the floor and began push-ups. In Guntram's native language of German, he silently counted. 1, 2, 3. Uma tempestade está vindo. A storm is coming. That is why we are here, old friend. It's crawling. It crawls, eyes like tapered white flames. From the darkness below, a new river catches fire. But I float, trapped, no escape. Felix began to convulse. He dropped to the floor, his body seizing as if scorpions had crawled into his nether region. and Rat watches. From above, death rears from the east. Guntram repositioned himself and continued push-ups. 1, and we will exterminate 2, that pest. 3. He checked the timepiece dangling around his neck. 11:15. Not the time. An elder greeted him with a solemn stare. One hand held a blackthorn staff, the other a flask. Raiden Kai matched stares with the young warrior. Somewhere from behind the young man could be heard the ravings most often attributed to a seer or prophet. One only had to truly listen to the madness in their words to parse the profundity of their curse. For Raiden, he knew many a seer who'd succumbed to the curse of glimpsing the future too many times. One is not naturally predisposed to having such forbidden knowledge, and forbidden knowledge is the apex of insane ambition.
Good evening, Elder.
I am here to deliver a message to General Guntram Daggard. I presume you are him?
Correct.
The German stepped out into the corridor. A sconce with an excited flame mounted above a plush sofa illuminated his intense facial features. Features that demonstrated a warrior's trials and tribulations, overcoming hardships far beyond the average soul.
The objective they intend for you is not possible. You and your men will surely perish in vain.
Major Guntram gave only a solid stare in response.
I would sacrifice my own life on the knowledge that I bring you.
Guntram crossed thick arms across his chest.
Even so, Elder, what would you intend me to do with the knowledge you bring? Reject my orders? That would be blatant mutiny. I would be in exile by morning.
Raiden panned the corridor, tapping his staff on the stone floor. An oil portrait of Prefect Caldric glowed at them with a scrutinizing set of dark eyes.
That is most certain, yes.
Raiden sipped lightly from the flask.
With no disrespect, Elder, if you foresaw the conundrum before you came to me, then why come at all? Damned if we do, damned if we don't, correct?
The world, my son, is full of conundrums and quagmires and awful happenstances. It's a wonder any of us could live to be as old as me. Or you. Fate waits for us around every nook. Could be there in the morning to wake us, be a late-night summoning of the bell, or come from the realm of nowhere. Spontaneous. General Guntram of the Aconites, I do not come bearing omens and to foreshadow your inevitable doom. I have taken care to research you and your comrades. A warrior of your breed is a rarity indeed. Would be such a tragic waste if you were to toss your life into the pot of imminent doom. But you are correct to infer that I had known prior to my arrival that you would not commit mutiny against the United Paladin Orders. And for that, I am grateful and proud.
Raiden tucked the flask beneath his shirt. Doom and gloom was on the horizon for all. The world, nay, the universes, needed men like Guntram, and Atticus, and Shane. If the multiverses ever expected a chance, then even more chosen souls were going to be needed. Men and women, boys and girls, creatures of good. Guntram placed a hand on Raiden's shoulder.
Then why come to warn me of the inevitable, Elder? If I am to die and my team as well, then why not climb to the tallest tower and shout your premonition to the masses?
Raiden heaved a deep sigh Reaching into his cloak, he pulled out a small pendant on a chain and took Guthrum's hand in his. He placed the pendant in Guthrum's palm, exactly as he had placed one of the same in Selector Atticus's hand. Guthrum's gaze fell to his palm. He clasped the pendant tight. General Guthrum suddenly fell to one knee before Raiden.
Elder, I don't deserve to be in the presence of such honorable gifts.
Raise up, General. Go steadfast into the fields of battle, and stare fate in the eyes with menace. I, Elder Raiden Kai, give my blessing and Godspeed to ye all.
At that moment, Raiden turned and began to shuffle away.
Elder!
Raiden paused.
Yes, my son?
Why do they cast such a great soul from the orders?
Fate, my dear boy. Always fate.